All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back. Happy Monday. Jen, how's it going?
Better than last week, I guess.
All right, cool.
I mean, not in my salon still, but emotionally doing a lot better and focusing on the positives.
That's what you got to do
Yep.
sometimes. All right, this week we're going to talk. We're going to do a little update on the business. We'll keep it brief just for people listening because I'm sure we'll have another update next week and whatever. We'll just kind of keep people filled in because we've had a few people reach out, and I feel like if we just drop off, it'll be kind of weird.
Yeah, it's
Like,
always, I mean, when you hear someone's story, you want to follow the story, right? It's just where,
well, there needs to be a resolution, I think.
yeah.
So
And we want you to follow along with us because we're going through it.
exactly. But we're going to dive into some culture stuff today because I think it's important. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about 5 mode framework that I think people could use to, I don't know, riff off of and create their own, maybe use it as inspiration to create their own framework to wrap their minds around things and help with that. But as always, we start with our
opening takes.
Opening takes. Jen, what do you got?
All right. So mine, it's kind of like a story, but I think it will show to how we react to certain situations, in this case with a client, but also just in life, that your reaction is really dictates the next part of your story, right? So I have a client, she's been with me, I'll say 20 years. She books every 5 weeks for her color and haircut and never fails. And if anything, if she's going on a trip, I see her every 4 weeks or every 3 weeks. It just depends. So her last appointment she was in happened to be at Hello Hair Co., not where I am now. So it's kind of nice. But anyway, I'm going into about to blow dry her hair. So I'm at the end of her service, right? I've done her color, I've done her haircut, I'm blow drying. She's like, oh, Jen, before I leave or when I'm checking out, please remind me to. And I'm going to pause because what I thought she was going to say, please remind me to reschedule. I got a trip coming up, all these things in my head that we always go through. So I'm like, before she even finished, I'm like, yeah, of course. And then she said to not rebook when I leave. Now, my face is in the mirror, so it would be very easy for me to be like, what the actual is she like, what is happening here? Instead, I was like, oh, yeah, sure. Like, I had to roll on that real quick, right? Because my reaction would fuel her reaction. This was just an odd conversation. And she's like, I'm on a budget now, so I'm going to need to color my hair myself in between, and then I'll book with you kind of like every other appointment, and I'll do my hair at home. Again, I could feel salty about this. Instead, I'm like, that sounds awesome. What do you need from me? How can I help? And I kind of worked through, try to find a color that's this. Don't go too dark because then we're going to be in a different situation and you're not actually saving money. I also then said to her, you should be doing your color at 5 weeks. So then at 10 weeks, I can see you and we can stay on a similar schedule. I was there to help her as the client and still make her experience amazing. And it would have been, I've seen it so many times where the stylist comes into some like negative mode and is just like, well, you shouldn't box dye your hair. It could do this. It could do that. There's no need to do any of that. She's on a budget. This is what she's trying to lay out for me. And I just rolled with it. So when we went up to the desk, I was like, remember, we're not rescheduling, but if you want, put in your calendar to do your hair at this time. And then this is when you should call me to book your next one. And she's like, all right, yeah, thanks. So I just think, it's how you react to things. It's always solving problems for the client. And then just remember, it really is about the client and their experience. And if in the end I lose that client, then I will just replace that client with a new one. That's just how it goes. Like, it is what it is. I've been rolling with everything the last few weeks. So here we are.
All right. Love it. My opening take is super simple. We're going to keep this super simple. I have a quote here by Nietzsche. If you're not sure who that is, Nietzsche was a philosopher from back in the day, like 1800s. And he said a lot of things, but one of them was, if you think someone's ruined your life, you're right. It's you.
Mm.
And I like that one. It all boils down to perspective and reflection, right?
Yes, very much.
So, and we could talk about that forever, but I really want to move on with a quick update before we dive into the fun stuff from the episode. So update, I guess, where we are, we're in rebuild mode. So we are rebuilding a salon. We thought we were going to be able to salvage our floors. Our flooring was from a really cool company in Massachusetts. They do, I think it's 80% recycled flooring, and it's a plastic sort of composite that they make. And it's all green and recyclable and blah, blah, blah. It's also 100% waterproof. So while it survived and could be sanitized and used again, there was some buckling and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it would take us longer and be more of an investment to utilize that floor again than it was to have new flooring put in. So we are in that process. We have flooring picked out. The walls there was a lot of drywall that needed to be ripped out. The walls, I haven't been in there in a day, so they were being mudded and taped and all that stuff. All the drywall was up. There was new insulation that was placed in the walls where there was some issues.
All of our stuff is outside of the salon in pods being stored.
Yep. Everything that's salvageable is in a pod. 2 pods, actually. There was a lot of stuff in there.
I actually think they brought a third one in, if I saw that the other day when I went by.
Another,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Because when I was in there, they had, okay, cool. So I guess that's where we are, and we're sort of in a holding pattern. Our contractor is in there. He's working. Everything was cleaned up successfully. There's no mold or anything like that. They had to check for asbestos, I think, because of the law. And now we're just kind of waiting, which is a sucky place to be.
Yeah.
We're waiting for insurance. They just have to approve stuff before you can move forward, like with certain things, right? It's just a process that they have, and we're sort of at their mercy right now. I guess that's it for our update. We're still working temporarily out of a space, and our team's a little spread out, even though we're condensed, because we have people working outside and people working inside our temporary space. And we started doing some meetings to touch base with staff kind of loosely and just update them. We had our big yearly one-on-one meetings scheduled, but we pushed those back until we get in our new space, and we started doing some like small group meetings just to kind of lay out a little bit of the education plan, even though we didn't confirm everything because we were supposed to, and then we had a flood. So everything sort of just got pushed back, but our team is in great spirits.
Yeah, they're doing amazing.
And which is where this episode came from, talking about culture. What did I miss, Jen?
I think that's pretty much it. We're just in a holding pattern, and luckily we're all able to just work and stay together and be grateful for that. At least we have that.
Cool. So, all right, let's dive into this then.
Let's.
Culture. I was thinking a lot about culture over the last 2 weeks, week and a half, whatever it's been, because your culture isn't your vibe. And I think a lot of business owners, this is where a lot of people get this wrong. They describe their words, or they describe their culture rather, with words like luxury and elevated and high end and boutique. But those are marketing words. Those aren't culture. And they're also not words that you can really define. So I think people confuse the branding with the culture. Your culture isn't what you say about your business. It's how your business behaves. And that comes from the clients. It's twofold. And it comes from your staff. And it comes from those two things when you, as a leader, have done enough to establish the things that we're going to talk about in this episode as how you do things. And so that's how your business reacts. Nothing, Jen? Okay.
No, I didn't know if you were still going. I was trying not to interrupt you. I'm working on this.
I pause. You know, it's like when you have a conversation, you sort of pause. And then after like 2 seconds, obviously the person, whatever. Jen is laughing so hard you can't hear her.
Okay. So what I've learned, over the last week and a half or 2 weeks there is, if you were to remove your staff from your salon and go in front of somewhere else, like in someone else's salon, which is exactly what we're doing, would you be proud of that staff you're bringing and what they bring to the table in someone else's business? Or would you be embarrassed and be like, we have a lot of work to do? A lot of times when you stay in your own salon, you think, oh, we're doing great things, like, because I don't know any different. I only know what's in front of me. But if you don't have systems in place and you don't have a true culture, like Todd was saying, which is the feeling that goes within your team, if you were to uplift them as what has been presented to us this last few weeks, you would quickly see every single thing collapse in front of you. Now, we talk all the time about our culture and this, and I can tell you right now that this test we are going through has proven so much more than I could have expected. I knew we had a great team and a great culture, but here's what we did. We removed our team from our place. We put them in somewhere else. We gave them half schedules. We asked them to do all these things, and they did all the things we do at Hello, and all were positive about it. Like it was crazy to go in there, and we just worked through everything as if it was the same day, just a different location. Like it didn't even trip us up. And what's come out of it now that we've been at the salon, we're temporarily at like 2 weeks. Some of the people that are there, they on just yesterday kind of pulled me aside. I was like, I am so impressed at so many things of your team and this and that and this. And like they're seeing that and they're like, you guys are running like this amazing business. I've never even seen a salon or a staff do these things and do them happily. So, we were faced with a test and I'm impressed and I had no doubt about it. But even some of the stuff we do, like how we clean, whatever, at this salon, like, oh, you don't need to do that. And I'm like, oh, we do. This is our standards and we will follow our standards here. And our team has seen like, wow, we really are like doing the right things. But we created this and we do this walk every day in the salon. And when it's not done, we remind and constantly remind. And it's why we are who we are and how we can be in a new salon tomorrow and still be doing amazing things.
I think it's great. It's shown me a lot too, just working in different capacities with different members of our staff and keeping things to, like you said, Jen, the standard it's pretty impressive because it would be easy to be like, this sucks. We're not in our own space. And you know what? I'm going to cut some corners. But instead, I feel like people are stepping it up even a little bit more.
Absolutely.
And that's what it takes to have your culture be really what it is. And your culture is more of what people feel when they're inside your business. And it's the things that they say about you when they're not in your business. And your culture is especially what people feel when something doesn't go perfectly, which is where we're sitting right now. So that little flood that we had was a really clear reminder for what culture actually is and what that word means, because you see it a ton in salons. Like we have a, non-dramatic culture. No, you don't. You wouldn't have to sell that.
The minute you say non-dramatic means there's lots of dramatic things happening.
Right. We have a collaborative culture. What does that even mean to you? Because collaborative is in our DNA. It's in our name. Hello Hair Collaborative.
Yeah, we could define that in 2 seconds. And then you'd see it happening in real time if you came in our salon.
It's when it's not bouncing ideas off of each other. That could be part of it, sure. That's cool. I'm not knocking that. It's not like bouncing color formulas off of each other. It's how do you step up when someone really needs you? Mm-hmm. And how do you anticipate those needs and step up before someone needs you? Those are really what you're talking about when you're building a culture. Yep. So let's talk about what this looks like in real life, not in a mission statement, not something that's just written on your wall, and how it shows up through the different moments, I guess, of how you should be running a business. So, Jen, let's start with a couple quick, I guess, questions I have here, which is, what do clients actually say about us? What do you hear people say? I have like a quick list, but I'm sure you have.
Well, they always say how inviting it is, right? Everybody greets them. Everyone says hi to them. They see the camaraderie amongst the staff and they're like, it's so like I don't want to use the word vibe because we just said this, but it is. The vibe in there is you can tell everybody truly, whether they like each other or not, they respect each other when they are under our roof. And that has a feeling to it. So the clients feel like relaxed around them. They say things just like even they love how they all ask questions and that they work together and they're helping each other. That would be, I would say, kind of the top things.
And then what are some things that we hear over and over again?
From clients?
Sure.
Oh, well, over the last 2 weeks, definitely leadership. They are like, this team hasn't even cracked under this. So the leadership coming from you and Todd must be amazing, which we hear in Hello too. Like, obviously we lead a team and we educate them and they love hearing about all the stuff that we're doing to keep them technically skilled.
Right. Because crisis creates clarity. So when you have a crisis, it really sharpens what you're looking at.
Yeah, every client
So if we didn't have that strong leadership, everything would crack and fall apart under a crisis mode, which is what we're in.
Yep.
Because when you're in your own space and things are there and it's relaxed and you can become a little complacent, you're not really being pressure tested.
Right. And then even the last few weeks too, like how they'll say to me, like, how did you find somewhere to work so quickly? And that is relationship building. I've kept great relationships with people in my past in different salons so that I can ask for help and they will be helpful because they respect me and I respect them. And the clients have all seen that, like, wow, obviously keeping relationships, this is amazing. And not being dramatic, right? Like we could be reaching out to clients like, oh my God, we had this flood, it's so awful, whatever. And instead we're confident behind it. We had a flood. Here's where we're temporarily working. We'll see you tomorrow at this time. And they're like, okay, thanks for letting me know. We don't create this chaos for them either. We're treating them.
We could have put it on social media too with the GoFundMe.
Yeah. One day my daughter came home and was just like, oh my God, like someone at her school was like, I'm sorry about the salon. How are you doing? And I'm like, how did she know? And she's like, well, you obviously put it on social media. Didn't you put it all over like Facebook and Instagram? And I'm like, we obviously didn't. Dad and I aren't like that. Like we protect our privacy. Eventually, Todd will tell the story because that's what he does with our social media. But now is not the time to tell that story. We keep everything private to protect us, the salon, and our staff. Like they're all going through something and it's private amongst us. But yeah, most people would put it out there that second, and that's just not who we are.
Exactly. So a few things that I had here is I've heard people say and repeat is I never feel rushed. That's something people say.
One.
Another one that I absolutely love, and every time I think of it or hear it, it reminds me of Gab, but they actually listen to me.
Yeah. She's the best at that.
Yeah. This one is good. Everyone seems calm, even when it's crazy busy.
Mm-hmm.
This one comes from people that have had subpar experiences, but I've heard people say they fixed it and they didn't even make it awkward.
That's amazing.
And then people talk about trust. Like they'll say something simple. I trust whoever. I trust Gianna.
Mm-hmm.
I trust Jamie. I trust Brooke, whoever. And then people will often say, I feel really taken care of when I'm here. I know that I'm going to be taken care of. And again, so I think that just goes back to culture isn't what you call your salon. It's not, I own a high-end luxury boutique salon. It's what people are saying after they're interacting with you, your business, and your team.
Because it's all about their experience. Like what do they feel they're getting out of your business and their experience there? That's the story.
Correct. And I think more specifically, your culture can be defined as how your business behaves in different moments. And this is where I came up with this sort of quick 5-mode framework. You can call it a 5-day framework if you want, but I like mode better because you might use multiple of these modes in a single day. So originally I was calling it like the 5 days framework, but I like the 5 modes better. So this isn't a lesson. This isn't a do it this way. This is just a breakdown of what my brain created for Hello and for Jen and I, and how we already look at things, but I wrote it down because you got to get stuff out of your head. And I never really truly looked at things through this lens, and I just wanted to show people. So the first thing is something that clicked for me. I believe that most hair pros, most salon owners out there only see 2 of these modes, which is the operations mode. And I'll break that down as you're running in the day to day. We'll break it down in a second. And then they see the crisis mode. And that's when something goes bad. And again, I'll break down that mode as well. And I'm also going to break down how your culture will show up, or what you, I guess, want your culture to show up as in each one of these. So let's start with the operations mode. That's the running the day to day. That's doing the stuff. That's doing schedules. That's managing your front desk. That's client timing and flow. That's rebooking. That's solving the daily problems, not crisis problems, just the daily stuff that comes up. You need to juggle schedules, like I said, or someone calls out sick or whatever. That's all that stuff. That could even include and should include you behind the chair. That's cutting the hair, coloring the hair, doing the orders, all that stuff. That's your operations mode. And how does your culture show up? Well, if you've done your job as a leader, your culture is going to come across as calm versus chaos. Again, what did I say earlier? Something like, everyone seems calm even when it's crazy busy. I've heard that a ton of times from clients. If Jen and I were spastic leaders, our team would replicate that.
Yeah.
They would imitate that. They would learn from that and they would spaz out. If you've ever worked in a kitchen or a restaurant, you know what it's like to be in the weeds. The best chefs relax you and get you to focus and complete the task that's in front of you, solve the problem, move on, right? That's what you should be doing. It's very calm. You can get into like a flow-like state. It's awesome. But I've been in situations in restaurants where the chef throws the pan against the wall because he can't keep up. And then now there's a lack of communication from the front of the house to the back and everything's chaotic. And now tables are waiting 25 minutes and they're not even getting their drinks because the bartender started drinking. They said, fuck it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just chaos.
It all breaks down. It starts from the top, right?
Yeah, that's the culture. And if you've ever worked in a restaurant, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It also shows up as consistency. So if you've got a good operations mode, when you're in there, you are consistent. Your clients know what they're going to get. They know what they're going to expect. And also how are problems handled in front of clients? Those are two different things. I've heard stories that I know are true because I've heard them from people of salons, excuse me, I just stuttered there, but of salons where the owners are literally screaming at staff on the floor in the middle of a shift. That's wild to me, but that's your culture.
Right.
And guess what? You can say you're a luxury high-end boutique salon.
Definitely not.
But word around town is you're screaming at your staff on the floor. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's what people are saying about your business. And clients really experience your culture through your day-to-day operations. That's how they're going to probably mostly experience that. So that's mode number 1, operations. Do you have anything to add to that?
No,
Jen?
that was perfect.
All right. Mode number 2, we're going to call this systems. So your systems mode is how your business works.
Very important.
This is huge. We were talking about this morning for some reason. This is your training. This is your onboarding. This is your SOPs, which is your standard operating procedures. I created, I think, 3 new ones during this crisis that we've had.
Yes. For our rebuild, there's some certain things that just need to be implemented in a different way because of some of the rebuild situations we were in, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's just stepping things up. We're like, hey, we can make this better.
Yeah.
And it clicks.
Yeah.
So this is your communication flow. This is your documentation. This is your handbooks and all that stuff. And so what does that do for your culture? How does your culture show up if you've done these things well? Well, there's clarity. People know what to do.
Yes, they know the rules, so then they can just have fun.
We tell people constantly to come to us. Do not go to each other with complaints. Do not go to each other with questions. Now, it doesn't mean, can you help me formulate this hair? Or what would you do in this haircut? I'm not talking
for
about
business stuff.
System stuff. Like, how do we deal with X?
Yeah.
That's a Jen and Todd question. Why? Not that I think anyone's malicious, but what happens is you get almost a game of telephone and someone thinks they know what the answer is. So they give it and then it's wrong. And then now you have 2 people doing it wrong instead of one person doing it wrong and one person came to you. So it gives them clarity. It shows up as support, whether it's people supporting each other, people feeling support, people understanding that you have an actual business. So they feel supported in that way. They know there's an answer for everything, which then translates into confidence, which is a huge one. If your team is confident, and I feel like our team is not necessarily like everyone feels technically confident, but systems, think about systems mode. Everyone feels that there's a why behind what's happening. So they don't have to worry.
And they know they can get the answer from us if they're not sure.
Yes. And it's not to say that when we had to reach out and say, hey, the salon is closed, it flooded. It's not to say they didn't have questions, but it is to say they had fewer questions and they were confident in us because they knew
we had it handled.
We had a plan.
Yeah.
And that all leads to less guessing.
Right.
Because when you have guessing, like, I don't know, I'm not sure. Again, I always relate stuff to restaurants, but when you ask a server, a waiter, or waitress, hey, what about this? Or I have a question about a dish or a cocktail or whatever. And they're like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, there's a breakdown in the system somewhere. There was no training. There was no onboarding, or you're missing a SOP or something.
Yeah. I think too.
And so,
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to close on your team feels your culture through these systems.
And
so that's where they're going to feel that.
If you're listening to this and you're like, they should just know, as we hear that a lot, like, oh, I don't have it written down, but they should just know. That is not an answer. They do not just know. And if you think they should just know, you're opening it up to them just guessing and then doing what they think you think they should do. And then now you're irritated because they're not doing it the right way when you never set the standard for what the right way was.
Agree. Yeah. So those are the first two modes. The third mode I'm calling leadership mode, and this is how people are led. This is all of your one-on-ones. This is all of your feedback. This is where you're laying out expectations. This is where you're resolving conflicts. This is where you're sort of coming in as the leader, as the emotional regulator. You're doing some coaching. You're making people better. You're elevating people, just like on, a sports team.
Mm-hmm.
The best leaders on sports team make those around them better. They bring you from a C-level player to a B-level player. Why? Because they're an A-plus player. And that's what they do. They're teaching you. And that is super important. What does that look like as your culture showing up? It looks like psychological safety.
Mm-hmm.
People know you have their back.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like accountability, which creates trust and adds a level of clarity to your business. That's leadership mode.
Yeah. I feel like at our salon sometimes, and what will come down to it, and this is a leadership role, right? They'll come into a mode and like, what would Jen and Todd do? Or how would Jen and Todd advise us? That's where we're at. They don't even have to come to us with all the answers, or it could even be just a life moment. It's not even work stuff. But a lot of times the girls, or the staff will say, what would Jen and Todd do in this situation? They'll come back from a weekend. They're like, so I was out at this thing and this is what it was. And then I asked myself, like, what would they do? And then like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I think this is what they would approve. And I'm like, this is not even in salon stuff. But when you lead a team from a great place and you're doing it consistently and constantly and all the time, they learn different habits because of it. And then they want to be operating at that level, not just under your roof, but in their personal life too. It carries over.
Exactly. Yeah. Leadership really is your culture in motion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And everything is moving. Fourth mode is, I'm going to call it the strategy mode.
Okay.
And this is when you're making the decisions. This is probably where you're figuring out the direction. So I guess you're deciding the direction of your business strategy. So what does that look like? It looks like your pricing decisions, your hiring decisions. What are your offerings? What do you maybe stop offering?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you invest time and money? Your marketing, all that stuff. And those are decisions that are super vital. And I think we see a lot of people missing the mark on that, especially like, for example, the first one I said was pricing, your pricing decisions. Going on a Facebook group and saying, what do you charge to move up a row of extensions? And then you're already undercutting your value by saying something like, I know it won't take me that long.
Yeah.
So you're already like, that's not a decision on pricing. You're trying to get somebody to agree with you. It's not going to take you that long, so you can charge less money for it.
And your pricing doesn't go on other people's opinions. There's so much more that goes into it than that, and you need to know that.
You need to strategize, which means you might need to get with your accountant, or you might need to get with somebody who understands numbers. If you don't, that's okay. Right. But you need someone on your team that does, so that you can set up like a strategy session with them and figure out what things look like.
Yeah.
Not a Facebook group. Again, no offense if that's you, but start to think about these modes. Now, how does your culture show up when you are good at this stuff? Well, it shows up by having alignment in your business. It shows up with stability. We're not constantly going around going, how do we get clients? How do we get clients? I have a staff and they're all quitting because I don't know how to get clients. We've strategized and figured out how to get clients. So it provides stability. So now our team doesn't have to wonder if they're going to get clients each week or each month or whatever. This is also where I think your culture sort of establishes your credibility, because you have whys for the big things in your business. So if you are just pricing, say you're pricing, I'm going to use a super simple example off the top of my head. Say you have one service that takes an hour and it costs $500, and you have another service that takes an hour and it costs $17. That's not stability.
Right. Doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. Also, credibility. I don't know if I said that yet.
No.
So, credibility, because you're taking the time to actually figure things out, and they're your things at this point. So, when you put strategy into your business, it makes you more credible. People see that. People feel that. People go, this place has a direction. This place has a mission. And that's all coming from your strategy. It comes from everything else too. And then also, when you have these things, like, for example, we have a solid pricing structure, we have a solid hiring process, we understand what we offer, we explore new offerings, some we scrap, some we'll explore again in the future, some stuff we remove from the menu. And what that does is that also creates confidence in the leadership, which is Jen and I, from our staff and from clients too. Clients know if we offer something, it's up to Hello's standard.
Correct.
And if it's not, they know that we're going to fix it.
We just went through this on something that we were offering that we realized was not to our standard, and we're going to have to reevaluate it.
Yeah, exactly. It's that strategy portion is really about having a why, and then your decisions match what you say you value. If
The matching part is so important.
Yeah, you've talked about that so many times, Jen.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's just, we say it even just, whatever your online presence is and that. And when someone walks in, those should feel the same. If they do not, you're just misleading. And you got to figure that out. Everything has to align and match what you're saying, what you're doing, what you're asking your staff to do. They all need to make sense.
The last mode is crisis mode.
Oh, we're good at that.
This is when something breaks.
Like a pipe.
This is all of your emergencies. This is all of your unexpected events. This is all of your major disruptions. This is your serious, quote unquote, problems, right? I put quote unquote serious because technically no one's life is at risk. So how serious really is it? But I'm not the norm. Most people see it as super serious. Yeah. Oops, I hit mute there. What does your culture look like when you are good at being in crisis mode? It looks at protection. You're protecting your team. You're protecting your clients. It looks at or blah, blah, blah. It looks like steadiness. You're not freaking out, even though you're in a crisis problem solving mode. You're not losing your mind and just spazzing and freaking out, because that's not good leadership.
Right.
It looks like, clear communication. And it looks like that emotional part that we touched on earlier, the emotional leadership.
Yeah.
It's giving people something to latch onto, right?
Yes.
And crisis, this is where your culture becomes visible real fucking quick.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think the biggest thing, and we did talk about the last episode when we were explaining our situation, is it builds confidence. We asked our team to do a lot of uncomfortable things over the last period of time, right? And whether they questioned it, whatever it was, some of them even came in crying, some of them were having meltdowns, but they trusted Todd and I. And because we gave them, hey, this is what we're going to do. You're going to show up. This is how we're going to do this. I'm going to be with you from open to close, blah, 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 X, Y, and Z, A, B, C, whatever. None of them were like, I can't do that. That was not an option. We didn't actually make that an option. It was like, you're going to show up, you're meeting me at this time, Todd will do this, I'm going to do this, and we're going to go do this. And then from there, the ones that weren't even working that day were like, how can I help? Can I come help set up? So it created almost, let's all be uncomfortable together and let's all do this together. And that came from us, so that we were able to give a clear message of, we got you, we got this, and trust us, and we're going to get through this. And they all stepped up and were like, okay, we're going to get through this. Whatever it looks like, we're going to do it. But that we created that confidence, that strong conversation, that leadership was to get them to trust, which they already did because we're doing all these things. So it wasn't this crisis mode of the salon plus, oh my God, everyone's going to get crushed. We're like, nope, we know how to lead this team. We know what they need to hear. We know what we need to do, and we will do it. And we will do it as well as we can. And we'll learn from it, even if there's things we didn't do that well, because we're people, we're humans, and that happens.
How I think people can benefit by creating, you can steal that 5-part framework right there for yourself, or you can create your own. I don't care. Have it, steal it, copy it word for word. Doesn't matter to me. But how I think that will help people is you can identify what mode you're actually in and truly focus on being in that mode.
Mm-hmm.
If you live constantly in crisis mode, you'll get stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
And before you know it, your business will be crashing and burning around you, because as a leader, it's your fault. So I understand, like I said it last episode, I understand that Mother Nature is what froze that pipe.
Right. We did everything we were supposed to do.
But the responsibility of everything else
Falls
falls
on
into
us.
our lap. It doesn't matter
Right.
it doesn't matter who's at fault.
Right.
You know, only a lame person would try to decide who is at fault before they take action.
Right.
So figure out what mode you're really in. Are you in leadership mode? Do you need to be coaching your team? And you might be in several different modes in one day. You might have a day of full crisis that creates clarity, and then you go, wow, we really need to build systems around that because I don't want to ever experience that again. So you need to go into a system building mode. And let's run through how this flood impacted all of these modes.
Mm-hmm.
I have some examples we can move through super quick. So operations mode. This was when Jen and I were moving schedules, dealing with clients. We had to adjust for the capacity.
Yes.
And we had to keep the day-to-day function.
Yep. And create language for everybody to know how to speak to their clients and pretty much how we wanted things conveyed.
No. Wrong.
Why?
Nope. Because that goes into
systems
mode. Yep. Which is next. So the systems mode was
I was just getting ahead, guys.
I know. So it's good stuff. I mean, if that's what you want to put in your operations mode, but for my framework, this was systems.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's your communications method. How did we communicate with staff? And then how do we have them communicate with clients? And then how do we communicate with clients, et cetera, et cetera? It's all your booking tools. We already had that in place, but they held up. It's your payroll, your logistics. Again, we already had that in place. It held up. It's your existing processes that allow you speed. We didn't have to worry about moving a bunch of equipment because a lot of our stuff is super mobile, which we realized without intent. I mean, I don't think we meant to be on the fly, but we have wireless card processors and we have iPads and we have stuff that just keeps us very mobile, which is something that we realized. How can we leverage that in the future? Not sure. We'll figure it out. That'll be a strategy session. But what about leadership? So leadership mode this is when we were communicating with our team. What did we say? This was the tone that we set. Again, if we were like, guys, this is terrible. I need a minute. I can't deal with this right now. This is too much. You know what? We'll reach out to you. Just give us some time. If we dealt with it like that, it would have been a failure. So you have to set the tone. And we had to be honest too, because integrity is important to us. And I'll tell you, we live by our core values, not just when it's convenient, because we had to be honest, and we had to be honest without panicking. Hey guys, we don't know exactly what this looks like, but here's what 85% of it's going to look like.
Right.
And we had a plan for everything. Strategy mode. This was when we decided to secure temporary space. This was when we were figuring out how to protect as much income as we could. And this was when we chose continuity over convenience. It would have been a lot easier to not have ourselves up and running in 24 hours for our clients, but we really want part of our mission is to take care of the client. We put the client first. What does that look like under pressure? That all comes from your strategy. And then finally, crisis mode. This is the one everyone loves, right? Because you're freaking out. But what did we do? The first thing we did was recognize that this is overwhelming. We need to stabilize this. So we stabilized our emotions. I looked at Jen and said, Jen, I need you on the phone with the insurance, and then you're going to find a plumber. I'm going to deal with the physical location of our space.
Yeah.
We had to make fast decisions, which we've worked on that in the past. It's for us, it's identifying the actual problem, solving that problem, and not getting ahead. Solve that one problem. Then what is the next actual problem? Solve that and continue until the fire is put out or until the water stops. And then the other thing we had to do in crisis mode was protect trust. we had to trust each other, Jen and I. We had to ask our team for trust, which comes from leadership as well. But I think if we didn't act how we acted in that crisis mode, they would have been like, whoa, these guys freak out. I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Everything would have collapsed.
Yeah. And all 5 of those modes were happening at the same time. Don't get me wrong. But it's important to recognize the culture showing up in each one of them. And it's important to recognize that we're shifting from one to the other, because Jen and I would have conversations about like the strategy. Hey, I have this idea. Let me guess. It's this. Yeah, you're right. I think it's a good idea. Put it into place. That's strategy. And then leadership. Hey, I want to write something for the staff. You know what I was thinking? Maybe a video. You know what? That's better. So but you have to be able to shift from those modes, and you can do it without recognizing it. I think this is going to help by pointing stuff out. It's going to help people go, I don't know what to do. Well, what mode are you in?
Yeah.
And what does each mode look like? Do you really have a crisis on your hand, or is the crisis averted for now and you just need to put a system in?
Mm-hmm.
Or you just need to lead your team better? Or you just need a strategy of what things look like in the future? I don't know. I don't know what mode you're going to be in, but you're in one. And I thought about this all week, and I think you could probably be like, well, we can add different modes. Yeah, I'm trying to simplify life for people.
Simple is always better.
Yeah.
Always.
I think that's probably good. There's my 5-mode framework. Steal it, use it. Maybe I'll write it down. Maybe I'll put it in a newsletter. I think I might have put it in last week's newsletter. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll create a PDF and put it on our website for people.
Good.
I don't know. Anything else, Jen? Any closing thoughts?
No, stay tuned. We'll keep you updated. I will say, if you have those 5 modes in place, so I head out on Monday for a training in Toronto that I'm only able to do because Todd and I are great leaders, and we know we have the systems in place that the team can handle this. And if you didn't, then again, other things in your life would start to just fall apart. So our life goes on. We even held other business meetings this week that just, I think a lot of people would have put stuff on hold, but we've got all this stuff in place, and we trust the process, and we hire the right people so that we can continue, maybe not as fast as we want, but at least continue our steps in the right direction for this business and everything we're growing.
That's a great point, Jen. I'm going to point this out. For a moment, Jen said to me, I don't think I can go on this trip. That's not smart. And I said, we're not in crisis mode. Mm-hmm. Don't act like you're in crisis mode, because we're not in crisis mode anymore. We're in a different mode. So that was a leadership, I think, moment for Jen and I, because we mentor each other just as much as we mentor our team, right? There's things I learn from Jen all the time, and I hope that you learn from me, but I would never just say that. It's kind of weird. But anyways, I was there to support her and say, the team, we have this. Yeah. It's not that we don't want you here, but you need that. You need this stuff because you like doing this stuff for you, and we're not in crisis mode. Now, if water was coming out of the wall, I would be like, don't talk to me about a freaking trip.
Totally different ball game.
This is nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
But we were a week removed from that point. It was easy for me to say, you're going on the trip.
Yeah, we're in a much different direction now, and like the rebuild. So it's very different.
All right. Yes. I guess stay tuned.
Yeah.
We'll talk soon. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.